Okay, so I was originally going to do this video in the exact same place as the first one 4 years ago. I even pulled into the same parking spot, and then it started storming outside. I just don't think you would have been able to like hear me. Probably would have been distracting. So now I'm just at the hotel, and I figured this is still, good. I'm still back in the same town I was 4 years ago when I made that original Bet on Yourself video. By the way, if you've DM'd me about that video, thank you so much. I'm sure I told you then, thank you, but it really means a lot because, people will DM me sometimes about tutorials now and then, but with that video, I got so many DMs and emails and things like that where people said like, it really inspired me and I'm gonna bet on myself, and that was my entire intention. So if that video meant anything to you, that's amazing and it means so much. So let's talk about this video. It's 4 years later. I'm back in the town I used to live in. Since that time, so much has happened. A lot can happen in 1 year. A lot can happen in 4 years. Basically, after I made that video, I stayed another year in what I would consider my hometown. It's like where I started college and like my formative, like sort of adult years were here. I spent another year here, and then I moved to Minneapolis, which is, a larger city. Within the first month of living there, I met someone and we are engaged now. This is going to sound weird. I asked the universe for this person and they came into my life, and I'm just so grateful. She knows that already, so it's not going to be shocking to her to hear that. And I'm pretty sure she likes me too, because we're going to get married. Now let's talk a little bit about business and design, what's happened in the last 4 years. In terms of design, I was able to create graphics for Nas, Eminem, 21 Savage, some amazing, artists. Nas has been literally #1 on my bucket list for as long as I can remember. And I've now worked on multiple projects for him. I'm so happy about that. I will say, as far as being a merch designer, it's become really interesting because there's been a lot of merch designers who've been incredibly supportive, and they're happy with like how I've grown and what I'm doing, because we've all been like rocking with each other for probably 10 years or so, right? It's a pretty small knit community. Some have been so supportive. Others, some designers like unfollowed me, and I'm not sure why. I feel so bad. Like, I don't know if it's something I did rub them the wrong way. They saw too many ads from me when I was running a lot of ads. I'm not really sure. It bums me out. But so many designers have come to me for advice on like, Fuller, how do I do design assets? How can I run ads? How do I do a store? I feel like I'm very blessed. I don't know. I have sort of exactly half like creative brain and half entrepreneurial, and it's just always been like that. So doing stores and like doing design tools and all that stuff and YouTube comes pretty naturally to me, and I love doing it. And so I feel like a lot of designers are a bit hesitant to do that sort of thing. Having them come to me for advice and me trying to like help them out in any way has been amazing. Nowadays, as far as freelance goes, I'm pretty much able to pick whatever projects I want. If someone sends me something and I don't really love the artist or the band, or I'm not excited about it, I can say no, which is not something I was able to do years ago because I relied so heavily on every project that was coming in. And so I think that does shed some light on how important it is to have sort of that secondary or like supplemental income when you're a freelance designer, because we've seen what can happen in the world and how it can affect our livelihoods. So hopefully I've inspired some designers to maybe make some moves in that direction as well. As far as the business goes, the first 3+ years, it was FULLERMOE.com, and then it transitioned to GFX World in May of 2024. So that was just a few months ago. And I'll talk more about that transition in a minute. But in the original Bet on Yourself video, I show you like a Shopify screen and I refresh it. The last 3 months I've done whatever it was, 100,000, 120,000. And I was so proud of that. And I was actually advised never to do that again, which is so funny. But I do want to update you with maybe broad strokes or just generally speaking. So since then, The business kept doing well. It's done multiple, $1 million in sales, which is cool. I'm not mad about that. But there's been so many ups and downs. It's crazy how much work goes into having an e-commerce brand and like doing advertising. And I was hiring people and I was firing people. And it's like, man, it's really tough. And, I'm a creative person. Like I said, I do have an entrepreneurial mind, but I don't have a business degree. So I'm just like doing my best, trying to figure it out sort of as I go. And in some ways building the plane while it's in the air. But yeah, it's been a learning experience for sure. And I'm really excited about GFX World. The reason I changed the name at all is because here's like the simplest way that I can put it. So imagine if Steve Jobs had put out the iPhone and he was like, check out my new phone. It's the Steve Jobs phone. So that's kind of why I changed it from FULLERMOE to GFX World. It has more universal appeal. I had some really fruitful conversations with other business owners who are way more successful than me, and I respect them so much, and they know exactly who they are. But the thing it kept coming back to was like, it should be a name that isn't so attached to me, in case maybe another business does want to come in and buy the company someday. Who knows? 10 years from now, maybe I want to step away from it and someone else is in charge, and I'm just sort of like pointing and I don't know, but like having the name FULLERMOE is going to be difficult. GFX World is a name that I've had for years. Like I can go into DMs from like 2021 probably, or 2020, and I was talking to designers about this idea of GFX World being, something where more designers could be involved from an educational standpoint, from a, design asset standpoint, collabing more with designers. I want to do more of that. It is kind of tricky as like other designers start popping up and sort of building their own websites and asset companies, which I love, by the way. I'm glad if any designer does that. I'm so happy for them. I think with GFX World, putting more emphasis on others instead of having my name in it is just like, it makes me feel better. I think it makes other people feel more maybe comfortable collaborating with me as well. So that was kind of the reason I changed the name, and I'm so excited about it. It's actually very sort of freeing in a way, because I always sort of felt like, all right, any design tools I create, they gotta be something that like me, the designer, FULLERMOE, would use, because that's why people are here. But like, I want to make stuff that I would never even use. That's just like someone else said like would be useful. And so I maybe work with another designer or artist who like specializes, you know what I mean? Like, I want to make a website where people can come and like, no matter if they love my style or they hate it, they're going to find something for them. And so not only having the sort of diversity of design tools, but this community, like the GFX World free community is now over 3,000 members. And it's just people finding it through probably me saying, like talking about it maybe on YouTube or like Instagram, sending people there, telling them to join the community. And it's amazing. Like the community is so vibrant. There's conversations going on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with or without me, which is so amazing. And something I should have expected, but it's hard to know how it's going to be. But there's so many amazing designers in the GFX World community, and it's so new. In that first video, I talked a lot about the car I was in, and I made a point to say like, this is not really about this car, just so you're aware. I say that in the video, but that was still me, like at a point in my life where some of my identity was wrapped up in this idea of proving myself to others through like a nice car, through expensive clothes. And like, don't get me wrong, I love fashion, I love design. I like wearing things that fit me the right way. I like certain graphics. I have a style. I'm not just gonna wear something because it says Gucci, you know what I mean? Like that's not me. But I was definitely guilty of maybe buying like sneakers that were like really expensive. And did I really love them? Like, probably not. It was a bit of a flex, and probably more so when I was single, to be honest. Just, I don't know, because that's how it is sometimes. But yeah, I feel like I'm so different now. And like, I still have a Mercedes. It's a nicer Mercedes than in the first video, but I just don't care about it. Like, I just don't care. I never drive it. I'm always in front of a computer working. Like, it's not something I really value at all nowadays. Like, the only things that are on my mind in terms of building the business and providing more value to others, it's because I want to have a well-rounded life and build with my fiance towards owning a house, towards having a family, towards a wedding that will be next fall. So that's my main focus. It's not like I got to make sure I have the latest X, Y, and Z brand. Like, I'm wearing Represent right now. It's a more luxury streetwear brand. I like their clothes. Like, I like the graphics. I like how it fits. That's why if it was any other brand, if I stumbled upon another brand that was as good, I would wear that. But this is what I like. And the same goes for, like, I've got a couple Hellstar pieces. I really like that. And I like what they're doing. Fear of God, I'll always wear that. I just like how it fits. I don't want to paint the picture that it's been all just like sunshine and rainbows, because with the business, it definitely hasn't. There have been some crazy things that have happened, things that were out of my control. Some things were definitely within my control, and I just like, oops, like messed up. But we're talking like the loss of hundreds of thousands of dollars, like real L's, like learning lessons. And that's fine. It's good to learn this stuff early on, because it's really helping me sort of develop an understanding of the long game. And I just recently tweeted, or no, it was on Threads, so Instagram Threads. I said, focus on better, not bigger. And that's something that I had to learn. Like, as soon as FULLERMOE started gaining momentum, my thought was like, all right, how do we triple it immediately? How do we bring on more people that can do this? How do I hire the best person to do this? Like, just where do I throw this money so it will grow the brand? And I feel like in some ways it was good, because I was able to reach a wider audience in many ways through spending a lot of money on advertisements, and they were either break even or barely profitable for most of that time. I think my timing was perfect, which is sad to say. It was just like the perfect storm of people were at home and maybe also trying to like pivot to other things, including design. Running ads is hard. If anyone's out there is saying you should always have a 3 to 5x ROAS, like return on ad spend for ads consistently, every person I talk to says, man, if you're lucky, especially with digital products, 1.5, 2, if you're lucky. Black Friday comes around, that's when you'll see the 3x. So it's been a learning experience. I do want to tell you about a friend of mine. His name is Jimmy Breen, and you can Google him. You can find him, on Instagram, following me. So Jimmy and I had always known each other. We're both designers. We both have worked on a lot of the same projects. Like, he did a lot for Warner Brothers, and I did a lot of freelance work for them as well. So we knew of each other, and we started messaging each other years ago. And it developed into just a full-on friendship to, we're texting all the time, to, Jimmy lived in Florida, come up to Minneapolis and hang out for a few weeks, and we'll shoot some videos, do tutorials, like hang out, whatever, to let's plan a tour together, an educational design tour to help out, a bunch of people and talk to them about breaking into the music industry. It was called Crash the Gates. That was the tour name. Crash the Gates, breaking into the music industry. That was Jimmy's idea. And he was a lot like me in that he had a very active mind and like a lot of ideas very entrepreneurial. He had success with a clothing brand previously. And he was a very just like kind person. And as an adult, it gets harder and harder to make like new friends. You know what I mean? I feel like you have your friends in your formative years, probably like discovering who you are as a person. Maybe that's in college or just out of college. And like a lot of times those are your friends throughout your life, right? And it gets difficult as you get older, at least for me. Maybe this isn't the experience that you've had, but I also have a hard time becoming friends with other men because I have issues with that. I have some dad issues, and it makes it difficult to like trust men. So when Jimmy and I became like fast friends, I was like, man, this is so dope. And Jimmy passed away. He died, and I don't know what happened, which is I don't know that I even care. Like what difference does it make? Because he's just not here. That's all I know for sure. But it just sucks because, and I remember saying this to my my fiance at the time when it happened, because she had met Jimmy. He cooked dinner for us one night. We went out to dinner together, the three of us. And I remember just saying, like, how is it fair that I just know there are so many like assholes walking around in the world contributing nothing by choice, being terrible people, and they get to be here and he doesn't. Like, I don't get that. So that was really hard. He definitely had a way to make people feel seen, and that is a superpower. And that is what I will always say about him. And I had this experience, if you talk to any other person who knew Jimmy Breen, they will have the exact same thing to say as me. At least that's every person I've talked to has said the same thing. So I'm sure part of it is, maybe, some people are just like this. They make you feel like maybe you're better friends with them than you are. But our friendship was so new and it grew so fast. I can't imagine where it was going to go. Like, we had tour dates. We had emails going to sponsors. We had conversations going. We were talking about, is it going to be better if we fly to certain stops, or should we rent a van, and me and my fiance and him and his wife travel around the country and do these tour dates. Like, we had a pitch deck, we had everything. And it's so weird that it just all went away. It was a completely different trajectory. I don't know what would have happened with that. He was really good at public speaking. You can find videos of him on YouTube. Just very casual, easy, approachable, but motivating. And that was the whole idea. It was like, let's get two people who just want to spread the message of, like, if you love design, you can do this because you're no different than either of us, especially music and design together. Like, there's a place for you out there. So yeah, I hope to do that tour. I'm not ready right now. I don't think it's quite the time, but I want to do that for sure. And I will do that. Search here, Jimmy Breen, and you should see like one of his talks. Should be like one of the first results. And check out his design work. So yeah, overall, just like the way life tends to be, there were some high highs and there were some low lows, and that's going to continue on until I'm in the grave, and that's going to be the same way for you. So if I were to leave you with anything from this video, I don't think the message would be any different than the first one. Bet on yourself. I wish that I had something new to say, but if you're unhappy, if you spend every single day not getting to be your authentic self, if you're going to a job that you don't love, if you're surrounded by individuals whose energy doesn't match your own, and it drains you instead of giving you more power, that can be changed. And it's not going to be easy. It's not something that happens overnight. You don't flip a switch. If you could, everyone would do that. It's going to be hard, but it will be temporary. And what comes from that will be better if you're taking steps towards doing what you love. And it honestly just goes back to that first video in the sense that it's not going to be exactly what you want. It's not going to be exactly what you envision in your head. It will be closer though. And that's all that matters. Like, this is a long game. This is a marathon. And so each step gets you closer to what you want, but you got to start taking those steps. Because if you're just sitting around and you're waiting for someone to come in and save you, you're waiting for the right opportunity to pop up and present itself, it's not going to get closer to you. Like, you have to create those opportunities. You have to start taking action and take responsibility for your own happiness. Because the thing I'm scared about is you might be a person who thinks it's not possible for you. You might think it's too late. You might think, I've done this for so long, I can't do anything else. I'm too old. Whatever the reason is, you can find evidence out there of someone else who's in a similar situation as you or worse, who have been successful, and they're no different than you. So if they can do it, if I can do it, you can do it. Maybe I'll do another video like this in 3 years, but I'll definitely catch you in the next tutorial. Peace.